Welcome to Homeschooling for Spirituality. The Flow is a delightful mix of insight, divine inspiration, and humor, where wisdom meets earthiness to help your ongoing spiritual growth and transformation. Follow the flow of enlightenment and explore everything spiritual through the deepest self-inquiry, as student Lisa Berry asks master spiritual teacher G.P. Walsh the kinds of questions you would ask an elder, a wise man, or a sage, and receive direct, simple, comprehensive, and deeply human lessons and teachings. From transcending the experience of separation, releasing old conditioned patterns and wounds, and alleviating suffering, to demystifying esoteric practices and revealing one's true purpose and innate freedom. Welcome to the Flow of Enlightenment. Transformation is all there is.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Flow of Enlightenment with G.P. Walsh and myself, Lisa Berry.
You said that so delicately. And
did I? It was so delicate. That's not a word I usually get.
Well, that's because you're not usually delicate, but right now you are.
my cat-like agility. No, so this one I find very interesting. We are talking about a very big word today, a very emotionally, I want to say triggering word, but it's a big one. We're going to talk about truth and believing truth, and why do we doubt truth, and how do we not recognize it sometimes when we're supposed to, and we really do. So this is a big one, GP.
All right.
All right. Yes. Well, here's an interesting way I'd love to start this particular episode off of the Flow of Enlightenment. Because the flow, you think, okay, I want it to flow. I want it to be easy. And you know what's one thing that it always has rubbed me the wrong way when somebody, and it's not like a bad thing, but it's like an uncomfortable thing. When somebody says, just, you got to believe me. And I automatically go, no, I don't. Now I don't, because you said that. So, and I was so much, I'm going to begin
like
this by asking.
Well, to be perfectly honest, haven't you been up to this point?
Yes. Yeah. Well, do you want me to be honest here? Yeah, exactly.
Can I be frank?
And we do want to highlight it, I guess, but I started thinking about the people who others might believe in, like believe no matter what. And I was going through the list of people with authority, people with experience, people with ranking, people who are scary and intimidating, or even manipulative. But then it also falls back on ourselves as, why do we doubt or question? So I'm going to start this right away. Why should we perhaps not believe anybody else?
Well, because they're all, what they're passing on to you is what somebody passed on to them. And over time it becomes certified, somebody comes up with something first, and then he teaches somebody else, and before you know it, there's an institution that is certifying you. You get little certificates on the wall and that sort of thing. It's like when coaching became a thing. Suddenly there's two organizations show up to certify people as coaches. Well, who certified you?
Right.
Right? No, we just make this stuff up, basically. and then if it hangs around long enough, it becomes institutionalized and may even made sacred, right?
Yes.
To the point where something completely useless, like a Bronze Age religion, still dominates the world today. That was, 4,000 years ago, right? A bunch of warrior tribes running around, beating each other, marauding each other, right?
Yes.
This becomes the foundation for our spiritual belief system in the West, and it's really like that. I mean, it's amazing, but there's this natural thing that human beings, first off, we want to be part of a group, and it goes all the way back, to pack animals, right? There's a relationship in all the group. In our more modern, our more sophisticated culture, being part of the group doesn't mean you're just there and you hunt together. It means that you believe the same things.
Yes.
Culturally, it defines us. I know who I am. All right, I'm a Christian, or I'm a Muslim. I know who I am, and I can then take on those characteristics, and I act that way, and I dress that way, and I think that way. Until something pops up at the side, all of a sudden, you're having an affair with your secretary or something, right? Because life does have a way.
Yes.
It does find a way around our silly ideas. But that's what it is. It's simply us feeling as if we are part of this group. So we define ourselves, our sense of identity, through our beliefs. I am this way. I am like this. Lawyers tend to act like lawyers. Truck drivers tend to act like truck drivers. It isn't just religious ideas. It's any kind of thing. We become our jobs. Musicians act like musicians. Why? There's no need to. No, absolutely no need to. This is kind of without self-inquiry, to actually examine our beliefs through our inner power of discrimination. Without that, you just go along with your beliefs, and you fight anybody who disagrees with the beliefs. You protect your culture, and so we have this this ongoing cultural warfare, and it's been going on forever. And it's worse now because there's so many of us. It's not like we're isolated tribes, and the population of the entire Earth is like 2 million people. Right?
Yeah, here we are fighting for unity, and now we're wondering, did we really want it?
Well, yeah, for a lot of people, unity means you start thinking like I do.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
What are we going to unify over? Right? I want to have prayer at school. Well, is that your prayer or mine?
Right. Who's going first?
So who's going first? So we're going to say the Lord's Prayer, and then we're going to kneel down on our blanket and face the east, and then we're going to stand up and face the Wailing Wall, and then we're going to chant mantras, and then we're going to do a silent meditation. I mean, well, there goes the school day. When are you going to do math?
Yes. I'm laughing when you said about a pack, because just this morning, well, probably not 2 hours ago, I read something that said, a house cat is not a pack animal. Neither are you. Follow your own path. And then you said that. I was laughing. You go. Well,
there's truth in that. There's truth.
Yes. In that. Yeah. When you said belief system, that really hit me, because here we are saying, the title of this episode, Don't Believe Me. But when I thought about it, I was like, oh my gosh, the number one thing I remember learning about in the whole coaching certification program is you've got to know your beliefs and value systems. If you don't know yours, then you can't stand for anything, basically. And I thought, well, wait a second. I love that you just said, basically, a belief or a truth is something that if it hangs around long enough, we're making stuff up here. And then if it hangs around long enough, then it just becomes. And so when we feel belief systemless and we just go, I don't know what to believe, I just want somebody else to tell me, are we just getting lazy, or are we scared, or what's going on there?
Well, you're either getting lazy or scared, or you're on the verge of enlightenment.
Oh, geez. Heads or tails?
Yeah. Heads or tails. Yeah. Discovering to actually be able to see the world directly and not through the lens of any kind of belief system, that's enlightenment. That's the awakening.
Oh,
you actually see things as they are.
Oh, wow.
And the only way to do that is to be free of belief.
Oh, wow. I have to quote that. See, when you can see the world without a belief system, that's enlightenment?
That's enlightenment. Yes. You're seeing things directly as they are.
Ah, well, that's cool. I like that. I like that. So let's go into a few things then, because I know people are going to be, I'm going to check in to see which questions have shown up in our different Facebook group. And if you guys are not there, or if you haven't yet, or you don't know, or you've emailed, you can always email your questions around the topic that we're discussing, or any topic, because we're going to cover it sooner or later. You want to email questions@gpwalsh.com. That's GPWALSH.com. Or go to the Facebook group. We have a GP Walsh spiritual teacher, to slow down when I say that, private Facebook group. And lots of opportunity to really interact and ask your questions, thinking, gosh, I've heard this great lesson, and wait, it's messing up with my belief system over here. So what do I do?
Yes.
So we It's not in stone. We don't need to own our beliefs forever.
No.
They
Oh, we
can
never
change.
do.
Ah,
No. You don't. I mean, you don't believe the same thing now you did when you were 10.
this is
Right.
true.
As we get older, we tend to become more stuck in our beliefs. We don't want to challenge them. And of course, that's the cause of old age.
Right.
You remain open and curious. You don't get old. You're quite nimble, and your mind, it functions very, very well. Maybe a little slower, but you're not stuck anywhere. But it takes courage. It takes courage to recognize that you probably don't know what you're doing.
Yes. Because so wait a second. So if we're walking through life, diddle-a-doo, and I think, oh gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. What are the fears? Fears would show up that I can't fail because I don't know what I'm doing. So I would either not belong, I could get sick, I could die. What are the fears that show up if we don't believe in our beliefs?
Well, we feel lost without them. We feel we don't have an identity. Remember, people define themselves by their relationships with beliefs. People ask somebody about themselves. They'll tell you what they do. They'll tell you what they believe, right? They'll tell you that their political affiliations. And if you, but who are you? They have no idea what you're talking about. Because we define ourselves by our beliefs. We define ourselves by these ideas and concepts that we have learned throughout our life. And we have some degree of flexibility. Sometimes people go, oh, that's really a bad idea. But there's always that tendency to identify now with something else, right? So the sinner becomes the Christian, right? The person becomes spiritual. And I'm a spiritual person now. So that means I chant Om, and I meditate 2 hours a day, and I don't eat meat, and all of it is you can compare it on the level of, well, this is a better way of living than that way of living, right? But it's still just a belief system that you've now identified with, and that determines your character. You're not free.
Right.
You're not free.
You're just happy in your prison.
Yes. Yeah, you've just got you've got a well-appointed cell, right? Martha Stewart designed your cell for you, right? And that's what most people want. They want an air conditioner in hell. They don't want to get out.
Oh, ooh, yes, that is so true. Yes. Oh, can I say? I don't know if I don't want to insult anybody, but what comes to my mind is when people are they're okay to take the medication that eases the pain, but then they're okay. They don't need to actually heal themselves. They're okay with.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I can alleviate the symptoms, then I'm not suffering enough to make it to truly change.
Yes.
But to actually look that the cause of my symptoms is that I eat crap, right?
Yes. Yeah.
and I sit and watch TV. I don't exercise. Nobody wants to face that because now I have to do something about it. I become responsible at that point, and now I even have to learn, and now I have to wade through in our modern world. You have to wade through just tons of information, most of which is simply nonsense. It's get on Facebook, and all you're going to see are people doing their diatribes about what they believe,
except for our group.
Except for us, of course.
Okay.
Of course, yeah, I'm the exception to the rule. Right?
Yes,
yeah,
right.
What I say is true, so believe me.
Right,
you can
right.
believe me because I'm always right and I never lie.
See, that's what's so tricky, GP. That's where I think a lot of people get stuck. You're like, but wait a second. Well, then oh my gosh, that just talk about tongue twister. That brain twisted me because you go, well, wait a second. I can't go to anybody for assistance or help or guidance because I shouldn't believe them. And then, that's a tricky one.
Of course we do. We learn from others. I'm a spiritual teacher. People come all the time.
Yes.
But if the teacher's real, if they're really responsible, what they will do is be pointing you towards your own answers. How to go about finding out the answer. I had one teacher in college, Jerry Davidson, I had him for music theory. I had him for ear training. I had him for music history. I learned organ from him. And he even taught me how to do the Moog synthesizer. And I remember his name because after all the time in the education system, he was the first teacher that taught me how to learn.
Oh.
He taught me how to approach the problem, break it down, figure stuff out, and how do you actually get to the point where you can master this stuff. Nobody had ever done that before. They're just, laying the information on you.
Right.
He taught me how to sort through it, how to make sense out of it, how to discern what was important and what wasn't. And he was just so methodical about it. It was amazing. I'm about 10 years ago, I found him online, and I sent him an email saying, thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh,
It
my
made all the
gosh.
difference in my life.
Yes.
So he didn't tell me what to do. Right?
What to memorize.
No.
Yeah.
No, matter of fact, one time we had to do this exercise of the 13 rules of four-part voicing from the classical period. It's the rules, the way a piece of music would be voiced for a choir or a string quartet or something like that. There's all sorts of different rules about parallel fifths and contrary motion and all kinds of things. And I finally got to the point. You'd write a little piece, he'd play it and go, oh, there they are. Smell them. You hear that? Right? You get so frustrated. But eventually I got to the point where I could do it. I could write a piece of music and not break any of the rules. And he said, now you have mastered it. Now you've earned the right to break the rules.
Oh, I like that, the break the rule part. That's fun.
Yeah.
You reminded me of, if someone were to take a picture. So they have whether it's back in the day, Polaroids, or you've got it developed, you're holding the picture. But if they didn't know the experience, if they didn't hold it in their heart and their soul, and, so for me, if I were to lose all my photos, it won't be the end of the world because I have those feelings, right? But if I was relying on just that picture, I would, feels like more of a two-dimensional, I could lose it. So it's like if our beliefs are true, they're truths, and you can't lose them.
You can't lose the truth. No.
Yeah. A belief is like, it feels like a belief is like a Polaroid picture.
Well, it is. It's a cheap substitute.
Right, yes.
Yeah. There's nothing substantial about it, which is why we hold on to them vociferously and will fight over them, because they are inherently unstable. They don't bring you any kind of sense of security. Only truth is going to do that. Only
That's
truth
right.
doesn't change. Beliefs are going to be challenged, and they need to be.
Yes. Oh, and on that note, I forgot we have commercials during the show. So what we'll do, but that's a great place. I lost my place, haha. So when we come back, we are going to, really dive into the difference of you're not going to lose your truths. You will lose your beliefs, and that's okay. So when we come back on the Flow of Enlightenment.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes. Co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Touch, move, and inspire. Sharing your story of how you overcame your deepest struggle will serve as someone else's survival guide. You are ready to get the book out of your head and onto the page. I'm Jocelyn Bellows, host of Breakdown to Wake Up, a live stream show dedicated to sharing personal journeys of men and women who have traversed through mazes of uncertainty, dark clouds, and dishonoring themselves, and the lessons they have learned along this path of what one can accomplish in our own self-discovery. And as a writing and life coach, I work with men and women to break through the BS of their lives to find their own voice and leaping into a life they love. It is my belief that when we share our stories of how we overcame what we have been through, it will serve as someone else's survival guide. So if you're ready to get the book out of your head and onto the page, I'd love to hear from you. Go to www.jocelynbellows.com and join me every Tuesday at noon Eastern and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern.
If I could be you,
and you could be me
for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
All right, welcome back. Well, I was going to say welcome back because I was singing "Walk a Mile in My Shoes." Oh goodness! Oh, wow. That's funny. Actually, it's okay. I love play on words. Oh, this whole believe me thing. You know, it's right now. I'm laughing thinking about, and we don't need to dive deep into this one, but there are some particular. Professions, yes, let's call them professions, politicians, lawyers, things that really, really are, quote unquote, fighting for the truth. Believe me, I need to convince them, I need to provide evidence. It almost seems now, like flip a coin here again, that it's so easy to do and yet impossible to do. Convince somebody, yeah.
I mean, you either intimidate them, which is what most of it is, right? Politics is all just intimidation. Right?
Yes.
I mean, they make you afraid. They don't actually present anything worth considering. There's almost no genuine discourse going on anymore. It's all just depicting the other person as dangerous. So they want to trigger the fear. They're terrible. They're gonna ruin everything, and it tends to work when you have a country that isn't very well educated, and of course they've been deteriorating the education system as well. So how do you actually tell what the truth is and what isn't? Well, reason, right? Being able to reason, right? But of course, reasoning can only operate in an environment where all beliefs are subject to scrutiny.
Yes.
Because reason can only function based on the assumptions that it makes. Okay, I assume this, and from that I can deduce this, and this. Right? But if that assumption is incorrect, it doesn't matter how well drawn your conclusions are. They're going to be wrong.
Yes.
Right. So getting to the most fundamental examination of things is that's what it's all about. Not taking anything as an authority. I mean, the Western religions are all based on the presumed authority of the Bible, which has been shown archaeologically to not be true. It's not a historical record. There's little tidbits of history in there. It's not a nice thing. These are things written over hundreds of years, different piece of things put together that contradict each other, and then some group of people at some point decide, well, this is going to be the right one, and this isn't. Now, their decision was based purely on self-interest.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. But if you're a Christian, you will not question the authority of the Bible, no matter how absurd it is. Right. Noah's Ark. Now, first off, Noah's Ark there's the story of a flood is a mythological theme it's in thousands of different cultures. The world destroyed by a flood, right? But on a practical level, how in the world do you get every critter on the planet onto one?
Well, there was less back then.
No, there were still billions of different species.
I was like, wasn't there only 20 of them back then?
Yeah, and a lot of them eat each other, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
So, I mean, when you really get, okay, it's absurd. As history, it's absolutely absurd. So if I need to be historically true in order for me to believe in it, I have to deny everything that contradicts that. And then you become silly. You become absolutely silly. Believing the world's only 6,000 years old and that sort of thing. If you're not willing to question the validity of your whole approach. And it is quite literal these days, right? They won't see it as a mythology, right? As a spiritual story to learn from, right? They've become extremely literal about it and said, no, this must be the way it is. And therefore, anything that denies that must be wrong. Right? So, I mean, there's no capacity in there to question it. And in fact, to question it is the devil's doing.
Yes. That's exactly what I was actually going to say. So if something cannot stand and be questioned, then it is not a truth, because a truth can always stand in the questioning light.
Oh, good God. I mean, it's truth. It's not intimidated by scrutiny.
Ooh, truth is not intimidated by scrutiny. Oh, that was good.
No, it's like, what's he got to hide? It's like, yeah, check, look under the kimono. No problem.
Oh, I love that. So here's let's bring this into the fun this fun spiritual energetic world. What is this whole thing about? Oh, it's true. I got goosebumps. What? Because that's a favorite one of us spiritual people. Like, oh yes, I got those chills. There's my validating thing. What is that?
Those are truth bumps. Yeah. And I mean, when something inside of you, the truth of you, recognizes the truth when it's uttered or experienced, that recognition is felt physically throughout the body. But the recognition itself is not in the feeling; it's a recognition. The truth is that feeling.
Right.
And only the truth in you can recognize the truth.
Yes.
A belief doesn't recognize itself as a belief. The truth has to come in and go, guess what? It's just a belief. So just starting out from the point of view that believes, that it's probably a belief, right? If there's any kind of lack of being sure of it, it is a belief. Because the truth is always confident. It always knows, right? But it isn't holding on to a particular set of beliefs. And this is really important because a belief, or set of beliefs, a set of behaviors, set of conduct and that sort of thing, can express truth, but it never is the truth.
Oh, so, hold on. Can you repeat that? Sorry.
We want to embody in our culture, in our behaviors, the way we get along with each other, right? That we don't kill each other and the like, right? Is a manifestation of our highest sense of truth. If I think that particular behavior or code of conduct and stuff is an absolute, I mistake it for the truth. Now I'm in trouble. Oh. Because the truth can take any form. And it's always going to be morphing itself and appearing within the cultural framework, with its the particular inflection of the time. Truth is not limited to one form, right? But what we seek as human beings is to live as close to the truth as we can, to have our lives, our systems, our interactions, our way of being aligned with that which is the eternal truth. And for me, that eternal truth is love. So that becomes the standard by which I designate human progress. Are we moving towards or away from love?
Oh, that's a great question to ask ourselves every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, are these actions moving me closer towards love or further away? That kind of actually, those who doubt themselves or who are unable to believe what to do or think? Is that a good starting question then? Is this?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you can live it's an ideal way to live. You're in the question. At this point, you're no longer attached to a particular way of thinking or being or anything, right? But we all are functioning in the world in some way, right? So is my functioning, is it constantly evolving itself towards the highest ideal, which is universal oneness and love? So that helps me discern my own thinking. Are these thoughts about myself the most loving? Are they the most kind?
Ooh.
Is my behavior towards others? It's such a simple value, right? And everybody knows what love is.
Yes.
And we also know that our egoic interests can conflict with it, and this is where it becomes a spiritual path. Because if it's a conflict between love and my ego, what do I do? Most people try to justify it. Oh, it's the most loving thing to do, right? Right? Because it's what I want, right? And that, of course, is simply intellectually dishonest.
Sorry. I'm laughing at that one. It's just what we've all done that at some point and really believe that.
Of course we have. We've convinced ourselves it was, it's going to hurt you more than it is me. No, it's not.
Yes. Yes. So when you just said there, because we all know what love is, I heard, flashes of probably a bazillion people in my life who have stated, well, I don't know what love is. I was never given love. I'm unable to. I'm unlovable. A little bit of a victim mentality there. But what if that is their belief? Is it possible that is their truth, that they do not know what love? See, we're sneaky when you turn it back on ourselves.
Well, they certainly believe it and therefore experience it. But if you really didn't know what love was, you'd have no conflict about it. The very fact that I never got love, right? You recognize that the feeling you're having right now isn't it, which means something does know what it is.
Right. Ooh. Yes.
Of course you know what it is, right? You may not have experienced it. You may not have, you may have had a really rotten childhood and parents were cold as ice or vindictive or whatever. So you didn't have an experience of it. But the only reason you have any kind of conflict about that is because you know it wasn't love.
Oh, experiencing it versus knowing it. Oh, okay.
We'd have... If we were just programmed, right? Like, I don't know love because I never had love, that's all there is, we wouldn't even think about it. And there'd certainly be no inner conflict and no psychotherapy, right? Because nobody have a conflict with it. Right? We have a conflict because we inherently know that that's not it. This isn't the way to be treated. This isn't the experience I want. We know it.
Right.
You might not be able to know how to accomplish that. You may have never had the experience of it, but the very fact that you recognize that the experience you're having isn't it means there's an inherent, deep, and subtle knowledge of what it is.
That's almost like I could relate that more materialistically to money, where some people can say, well, I've never been rich. Well, you know what you think it would look like or feel like to be rich, even though you've not been, but you're witnessing
we have our ideas of what it is, and what that really means, though, is the belief that I'm not.
Right. Yeah.
Based on a particular set of standards. So the culture says you're rich if you have X amount of dollars, and of course that number keeps moving because it's just a belief. Right? The fact of the matter is if you have more right now than you need, you are wealthy.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I'm super wealthy.
Excess. God, I'm bloated.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I have to sit on that for a second. My father would always tell us, saying, we are tremendously wealthy and all these things, right? So I really grew up thinking that, of course, feeling that, because that was the belief. That was but then looking back, I'm like, if other people, I remember hearing them say, would challenge him and say, well, no, you're not. And then they would try to convince my father, like another man, let's say another male gorilla chest hitting, no, you're not. You're driving a 1984 brown station wagon with wood paneling. My dad says, yes, and I have a vehicle that works. So there's always this challenge, it seems, that people want to come up and tell us that our beliefs are wrong. By their standards.
By their standards, because our beliefs, it's so unstable and so flimsy, and we're actually beliefs are so insecure that we need to get everybody to believe it. So I feel secure. So if somebody comes along who has very little and they're happy, you go, well, they can't be happy.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
That's the standard in the West. The U.S. thinks all these countries that are poor aren't happy. And they are. They're happier than we are.
Yeah.
Right? Because
losing stuff.
Because we have created a cultural environment in which material wealth is the number one value. It's not love. It's not cooperation. Not compassion. It's money. That's the value system of the West, and most particularly the U.S., which is psychotic about it. And so everything is assessed from that point of view, right? I'm happy because I have money. Now, the reality is, and this has been studied time and time again, that the more money you have, the less happy you are. It's
stressful.
Simply a fact. The less empathetic you get, because at the beginning you're trying to get it, then once you get it, you're trying to hold on to it. And, a billionaire, somebody with $20 billion in the bank, if they lose $1 billion, they think the sky is falling.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So much fear.
Now I got to hold on to it. Why? Because, well, first off, I've identified with it. I am that now. I am somebody important because I have done this. I have fulfilled it. I'm the cultural ideal. And our cultural ideas are all extremely rich people. They're not people of character. Most of them. Right. They're not people of character at all. If they were, they'd be paying their employees, taking care of people. They wouldn't move a factory out of a city and devastate the community just so they could raise their stock prices by moving it to Mexico. That simply wouldn't happen, right? Because that is our ideal. It becomes a value system. So money simply becomes a belief system, and that's exactly what it is. This is how I evaluate something.
Yes. And on that, we'll go to our second and final commercial break. And when we come back, we are going to continue this conversation of beliefs, and are they just simply unstable standards? When we come back on the Flow of Enlightenment.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose. To link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Coping-19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
If you're feeling increasingly lonely right now, you're not alone. It's totally normal. Even though we may not be able to get together in person, connecting virtually with friends and family still gives you a chance to interact with people and may help raise your spirits. Join a virtual book club, set up group text chats, or online video coffee breaks with coworkers.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
All right. I'm trying to have funny joke time during commercial, but there you go. Oh, hi guys. I just want to do a friendly reminder to everybody that if you're listening, you're thinking, oh, I'd like to chime in on that or make a comment or ask a question and get some more clarity around things. You can always do three things, but call in. And the number to call in, and you can still do that now during today's show, if you do it right away, is 202-570-7057. You'll be calling into the OMTimes radio station, and they'll put you through. You can always leave a comment on our Facebook group page, which is GP Walsh, spiritual teacher, and that's the private group on Facebook. Got to request to be a member. We got to let you in. And, of course, which our favorite too is to email us at questions@gpwalsh.com. And, GP, I'm going to take this moment to let everybody know that the four powers of creation, your masterclass is coming up this Thursday. So just 2 days away. And we really were going to close off everybody, coming in so that they had time to go through the material. There's about 4 hours of content to listen to. Hopefully, not you don't have to, but it's helpful before. But if you'd still like to join us, oh my gosh, it's only $189 to get there's actually, to be honest, it's 5.5 hours because it's the intros. So you've got a lot of stuff ahead of time, or you can listen. Yeah. And then the 90-minute interactive live class, which I love, with UGP on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, this in 2 days. And then they can still listen, even if you can't make it, you can do the replay and still, send out some questions. But the 4 powers of creation, we're talking about this right now because we're talking about beliefs, identity. It comes down to it. So to me, this feels like the most fundamental place to start with self-inquiry.
Well, it is. That's what self-inquiry is all about. When you question who you thought you've been, when you question all the things you know about yourself that you just assume, I am this or that, right? I'm like this. I believe this. They determine the quality of your life. Period.
Ooh.
If you don't question them, you will be stuck in a particular way of being, thinking that circumstances are holding you there. They're not. The circumstances are created by our beliefs, not the other way around. What you believe literally shapes your perception, and that will make your world. You don't see the world as it is, you see it the way you are. You look around and see your own reflection everywhere.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. And you know what? That's so funny. You tapped into literally. I was just going to ask you, what would be the negative side if we never questioned it? Some people can walk through life and never question, right? But you just answered then, because we could be stuck, or we could hate the world and be resentful, or just is it possible we could go through our lives, our lives, not questioning and be happy?
No. Short answer. No, because if you're not questioning, you are living half truth. You are not being yourself. You are living out a version of yourself that was programmed into you, and so you can't actually be happy. You might be well adjusted.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Okay.
And not have a great deal of inner conflict about it, but you won't be happy. I always use the example of the whale in the swimming pool. You take a whale. They travel thousands of miles a year. The oceans of the world are their home. They just wander top of the food chain. Nothing bothers them, and they get captured and get put into a Sea World or something, and they wonder why they freak out.
Oh.
It was the orca Tillamook, who turned on her trainer and killed her. Right? Everybody's so shocked. What do you expect?
Yes.
You take this animal who is used to living in the entire ocean. You throw them in a swimming pool, and you expect them to be happy. They're not going to be able to articulate why they're not happy. They're just going to know something's wrong. This doesn't.
Yes.
These shoes don't fit.
Right. Yes. Pinching me.
Everybody feels that. Everybody feels that. And there, certain times of your life you feel it more than others. Right? Mm-hmm. That's the whole midlife crisis thing. Right?
Yeah.
Which, interestingly enough, is a white male phenomena. Men in other cultures don't have that because they don't have the same ridiculous expectations.
Yes, that is a very cultural thing. Same with aging women or menopause and things. They make it. I'm not saying there isn't a physical thing that happens, and we all because there really are different. We have different goals and purposes, and want to experience different things at different lives, and it's how our society accepts that and accepts us. And if you take a very natural thing like the whale wanting the ocean, yeah, exactly. And that's when you said living half your truth, that really impacted me because a lot of people talk about you've got to live your fullest truest self. I can't remember the words they say because I'm not showing it. But now that you've said now that you've showed me the opposite, actually, I get it. I didn't get it before about what do you mean living my fullest truest self? Of course I am. But when you said wait, it's living half your truth, now it makes more sense to me.
Yes.
Yeah, well-adjusted, little conflict, but not truly happy because you're living conditionally.
You're living out the story, and the story you're living may be a good one. Right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's really your story. And in fact, it isn't your story. Until you've done the inquiry and discovered who you actually are, you are living a version of you that was installed in you and isn't you. Period.
Yes.
And it may be that what was installed may be good, it may be horrible, right? Depending on your particular upbringing. But it won't be you, no matter what it is. And we all feel that. You get to those places in your life, something's missing. Everybody feels that. That's because something is missing. You.
Oh, right. Yes. And so many people, GP, live their lives with these assumptions, and they were never even told that, but for some reason they were a little kid and they saw that their parents got married when they were 19 or 40, or they had children at this age, or they became a doctor or a lawyer at this age, and suddenly they're a failure if they don't. And you're like, well, why do you have to? Where did you get that from?
Well, it can be, everybody gets enculturated. There's no way out.
Darn it.
Everybody gets enculturated. Your parents pass on to them. And depending, some parents are better than others and allow you to have a certain amount of freedom. They encourage you to explore. They encourage you to question. That was not my experience.
Right.
It was exactly the opposite. This is the way it's supposed to be, period. End of story. And, and it's that way in fundamentalist churches and that sort of thing. So nobody escapes it, right? And the only way out is to doubt it, to recognize that I'm living what I believe. I'm not really living my truth. If I was living my truth, I would be blissfully happy, not just okay. I would be absolutely blissfully happy. That's the payoff. Most people don't even know such a thing is possible, let alone how to get it. Well, you are blissfully happy when you are yourself. Because when you are fully yourself, nothing's missing. You're whole. There's no desire for anything other than that. There's no desire for anything. You are complete, whole, perfect, just as you are. No need to do anything more. No need to go anywhere more. That's blissfully happy.
And if you could do a blanket statement just so everybody hears this, does everybody deserve, are worthy of, valued to have that?
Well, it's the truth, so obviously yes. Everybody deserves the truth.
Right.
The truth of who you are. Everybody deserves that. And the truth is true, right? Whether you deserve it or not.
You don't deserve this truth, but it's here.
You don't earn it, right? Truth isn't earned. That's the whole point of grace. You don't earn the truth.
Right.
It's just the truth. The truth of you is the truth of you.
So even when my mom used to say to me when I was little and I did something rotten, she'd be like, "You did a rotten thing, but I still love you."
Yeah, well, that's really fortunate that you got that, because you did a rotten thing, and I would love you if you do it the way I want you to.
Yes, yeah.
For most people, that love is quite the bargaining chip. It's it is not given freely like that.
Yes,
it becomes a business deal.
Yeah, I'm actually going to write that down. When love is used as a bargaining chip. Ooh, yes. So that's the biggest thing is when people are saying like, well, oh, that's good for you and that's good for other people, but I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy of it. They have all these things that I wish there was like a golden way just to reach those people, to share with them, to say, just start questioning.
Yeah. At what point did you become unworthy? Were you born unworthy? Did it happen at 3? Were you 8? A teenager?
Yeah.
At what moment did you suddenly become unworthy?
People have answers for that, though. They'll say it was this age when I was molested, this age when I saw my parents getting divorced, and they really believe that.
Well, and at traumatic times like that, traumatic events like that, it does leave an impact, right?
Yeah.
And the energetic impact that it has then gets interpreted by our mind and our belief system, and it's given a meaning. And so now I was molested, or my parents got a divorce, therefore I am like this. That needs to be questioned. Yes, it happened, and there was an energetic trauma about it. Right? Now let's get to the actual energetic disruption without the story about it, because that all gets added on later, which then substantiates it and actually holds it in place.
Oh.
Now it's being held in place by your belief system, right? Which doesn't allow for this to be released. Now I've identified myself as somebody suffering because of this condition. But you're not suffering because of what happened to you. You're suffering about your beliefs about the consequences of what happened to you. Now notice that's not a denial of the trauma. I'm getting you out of the story about the trauma and into the actual thing itself, which, if you do that, the body knows how to release that energy and discharge the trauma. But as long as I keep holding myself in the position of this, of this traumatized person, I will be acting out that belief, and it will be perpetuated.
Okay, GP, I am going to absolutely request that everybody listening to this, whether it's live or on a replay, I need to go back and listen to those 2 minutes over again. So everybody get this time signature right now, because that was the best quote unquote, I'll call it therapy, but I don't really want to call it that, coaching that I think anybody could ever receive. And I want to highlight that you do this coaching for people. And I remember listening to many of your energy techniques, the replays and things. And whether it's been my exact problem or not, it didn't even matter. That really helped. And when you just said the energetic impact, I'm going to start using that term better than like I got hurt or this event, because that's all it is. It's an energetic impact. And if anybody's listening right now and you would like, maybe you're not a class person, maybe you're not just a listening audio person, you do need some help one-on-one. And GP mentioned earlier that, a responsible spiritual teacher is one who helps point you to your own answers, your own learning of these things and unlearning of things. And I don't often talk about it and share people that you do one-on-one coaching, but you know what, those 2 minutes right there specifically really highlighted to me the freedom that can be had by working with you to do that. Because the whole thing about energetic disruption and without the conditions, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to listen to it again. So everybody please listen again and go to most important direction here, go to gpwalsh.com. Go to gpwalsh.com, because not only to get, yes, of course, on the light letter, book your session, just have one session with you, GP. I know the beauty of it. I get to work with you all the time, which, is a gift to me. But this sounds so healing and loving and truthful. And
well, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
It's the forgiveness. It takes you into that place of the original innocence. That you don't need the story about it, and you can create an inner environment that actually discharges the trauma to the point where it will be as if it never happened.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Just discharge the trauma. Okay, that's a new name for our thing. I don't know what, but you guys keep your eyes open, because we are going to call something that discharge the trauma. Time to let that go. Off it goes. So, I can't believe another episode is going by, but wow. I know. Final reminder to everybody, please, come join us with, the 4 powers of creation. Even if you just go, let's give the secret, the back door, just so you can have a quick intro. Go to gpwalsh.com /4, the number 4. Powers with an S. You know, get the intro, sign up, join us on Thursday. And GP, as always, thank you so much for just answering so many questions here.
Well, I love it.
You love it and you're good at it.
I love doing it. Well, it's good. It's a good thing I'm good at it because I love doing it. It'd be terrible if I loved doing it. It's horrible at it.
It's like, what is this guy doing?
What a mess. Glad you're enjoying yourself.
Oh, you guys come have fun with us. You know, we're excited to hear from each and every one of you. So we'll see you guys hear from you guys next Tuesday. And if you want to call in on the live show next Tuesday, just call in. We always give the number. You can always go to the Facebook page and get the number there. But we'll see you next Tuesday. Okay, well, thanks, GP. Bye, everyone.